Last segment here, tight ends. We're doing, let's see here, Cincinnati versus Cleveland. Uzomah, no. I have a nice projection on him, but I've been burned on him in the past. I don't like it. If he proves me wrong, I can eat that. I don't mind that. Cleveland, we have Austin Hooper. Njoku is out now on the IR. Unfortunate for him. I don't like Bryant. Austin Hooper, I think, gets the uplift with Njoku out, okay? Atlanta versus Dallas. Hayden Hurst, I think, is a bet to come back. I have him projected as the 16th rated tight end this week as I take a sip of water. And we're back. Let's see here. Hayden Hurst, I think, will bounce back. Russell Gage isn't going to get 12 targets every single week. This offense will want to play more ball control. They'll want to hit their tight ends. Hayden Hurst was a factor kind of in short yardage situations, which means he's going to get red zone looks. Hayden Hurst, though, every time he was roughed up a little bit by a linebacker in coverage. Yes, he was hit early a couple times. Yes, I agree he was interfered with. You're an NFL tight end. You got to box out. You got to make the catch. Sorry, you have to do it. Sometimes you'll get the flag, sometimes you won't. They didn't last week. Hayden Hurst, you got to get tougher. Believe me, NFL defensive coordinators have seen that on tape, and they will try to employ that as a strategy, rough him up a little bit, okay? So Hayden Hurst, yes, potential. I am still comfortable starting him. If he has a bad week this week, he's going to be in prove-it territory for me. Dallas, staying away. Dalton Schultz, whatever, I don't care. I'm not starting him. Too much value at wide receiver there. Too much value. And then you got Zeke, who they're using more out of the backfield as well. Too much value. I'm staying away from tight end. It's got to come out of somewhere, and I think it comes out of tight end. Buffalo versus Miami, neither tight end. I know the thought is, hey, maybe Gesicki will get more targets with the Devontae Parker injury and all that. I understand the logic behind it, but you could pick up Greg Olsen off of waivers right now. I'll talk about him in a bit and start him. I think he's the better start this week. Now, Gesicki might get you a touchdown, but was he going to get you 15 yards and a touchdown? I think Olsen could give you 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe even 2 touchdowns this week, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Carolina, Ian Thomas. Look, this is a spread offense. This isn't the same Carolina offense as in recent past where they sprung Greg Olsen at tight end. I was never buyer on Ian Thomas. This is not what they want to do. This offense looks more similar to the Arizona Cardinals offense. That means wide receivers have the value. I'm not a buyer on Ian Thomas. He'll get you a touchdown every now and then, don't get me wrong, but he's not somebody you should be betting on, in my opinion. Tampa Bay, very interesting. They had O.J. Howard playing more snaps than Gronkowski. Here's my theory. The chemistry was an issue for Tom Brady last week with the New Orleans Saints. He needs somebody he trusts to throw to. He will throw to Gronkowski. We saw it in New England for years. If it's 3rd and 7, Gronkowski is double covered. Tom Brady, he's the offensive line's collapsed and he's under pressure. Who does he throw to? He throws to Gronk in double coverage, throws it up and lets Gronk come down with it. He trusts Gronk. That trust factor is important while quarterback acclimates to a new offense. I predict that Gronkowski will get a greater snap share this week, but O.J. Howard will have value. That makes that tight end long-term a little bit more murky. Gronkowski, daily fantasy play. You could, as I said, Greg Olsen sitting on waivers for everybody. You can pick up and plug in and play Greg Olsen this week. Denver, Noah Fant, I liked what I saw. I know Cortland Sutton was out, but I do think this offense will feature them. Pat Shurmur throws to his tight ends. He always has. Evan Ingram, for example, with the New York Giants, he always throws to his tight ends. Fant, I was a big buyer on last year. He came out and I think he was nervous to start the season. I remember that Monday Night Football game. He had opportunities. He was dropping passes. He was holding players, getting penalties thrown on him and all that stuff. This year, he looked really nice, I thought, on Monday Night Football. I think he's a season-long starter potential. I think he could wind up as a tight end, top 10 tight end. I haven't projected as 14 this week, but if you don't have anybody else, he can play him. But again, Greg Olsen, everybody. Let's see here. Pittsburgh. Eric Ebron, I'm sorry, the receivers are too good. Same thing with Dallas. I know Ebron caught a ton of touchdowns for the Detroit Lions. I know they caught a ton of touchdowns for the Indianapolis Colts a couple years ago. It's a different offense. He'll get some matchup-based touchdowns, and maybe he'll get in the end zone this week. I don't have him projected to get in the end zone. I'm a season-long sit on Ebron, everybody, except for daily fantasy. Detroit, I liked Hawkinson. When Hawkinson and Stafford were both healthy, and that was a very limited sample size last year, Hawkinson was meeting the hype coming out of the draft class. Now, Stafford gets hurt, he gets hurt. Rookie season, kind of people forget about him. The hype's over, but I think he's going to be a good tight end. He's another guy you could probably pick up off of waivers that I like that you could plug in and play. Sternberger, don't like him. I don't like Green Bay tight end at this point. We'll see if that changes throughout the season. Jacksonville Eifert, I think he has sleeper value for the rest of the year, but I'm a sit. Tennessee, Jonnu Smith, liked what I saw from him. I think you could play him this week if you have him on your roster. Let's see here. Tyler Higbee, I have graded as a midline starter this week, but he does have a projection to get in the end zone, so if you want to bet on him to get a receiving touchdown this week, I think it's it's the week to do it. Ertz and Goedert are both rated as starters. This offense is tight end heavy. I think Goedert will be the better receiving tight end. I've been getting some questions about Zach Ertz. Is it over for him? Blah, blah, blah. No, I think that they'll both produce. I actually, before the season, had both statistically projected to be top 10 tight ends to finish out the season. I do think, given the contract situation, if you're in a deeper keeper league or dynasty or whatever, Goddard's the guy. I don't know that Ertz gets extended there, especially with the cap dropping next year, as it's been reported. Philadelphia is in a little bit of a nightmare scenario. I believe they might be the worst team in terms of salary cap. It might be... There's one team worse than the New Orleans Saints, and I think it might be the Eagles next year. I don't know that financially they can afford to extend Ertz even if they want to. So keep an eye on that. But I think Goedert under contract for longer. He's the more long-term viable play. And he's been the red zone guy for a while. I think because Zach Ertz is drawing coverage. Maybe over the time people start paying more attention to Goedert, so Ertz gets that. It's going to go back and forth throughout the season. That's what I'm saying, but both can be starts every week. Minnesota Vikings versus the Indianapolis Colts. Rudolph and Irv Smith are sits for me. Jack Doyle, although I like him long-term, I don't like him this week. He's a sit. New York Giants versus Chicago Bears. Evan Ingram I have as a start in a top 10 tight end grade. Jimmy Graham, pay attention to the target totals. I don't have him as a start grade, but... you could pick them up if you're really desperate at tight end, but again, there's better out there for you. There's Herndon on waivers. There's Hawkinson on waivers. There's Goedert probably got snapped up this week from waivers, but you still have Greg Olsen out there. People are ignoring him. I don't know why. Let's see. San Francisco, Kittle, assuming he plays, you start him every week. I don't have a great projection grade on him, thanks to the wide receivers being out, thanks to the New York Jets defense being a little bit better than everybody wants to give them credit for. But you got to start Kittle. You drafted him early. You got to start him. And I like the matchup because, look, I know they're going to probably be double covering them all game, but the receiving targets have to go somewhere, right? Garoppolo has to throw the ball to somebody. For the New York Jets, I think the New York Jets are going to have trouble moving the ball downfield. I think they're going to be having trouble moving the ball with the running game. I think it's Crowder and Herndon all day. I think they'll get you plenty of receptions. Is he going to get in the end zone? I don't know. He'll get you receptions and yards, so I think he can bank a 5 reception for 60-yard day and coin flip whether or not he's going to get in the end zone. Washington, Logan Thomas. I said it before, he's going to probably out-target everybody else other than maybe McLaurin and maybe Gibson this week. Logan Thomas, he's another tight end on waivers that you can pick up, scoop, and play. I have him projected as the third projected tight end this week in terms of computer projections. I know these are wild, but they're computer projections. I'm not ranking him third, but I'm saying it's a good matchup, and especially in daily fantasy, I think you could start him. Arizona, I always sit Arizona tight ends. Similar to what I'm seeing in Carolina, I'm sitting them. I don't care if they get in the end zone once, every 5 weeks. I'm not going to make that bet. That's not a good bet. They're not going to get your receiving yards in bulk unless there's something goofy that happens. Just don't bet on Arizona tight ends all year. Baltimore, on the other hand, you can bet on their tight end all year long. Mark Andrews, start him, projected as the number 1 overall tight end this week. Boyle, I do like that this offense, similar to a Philadelphia, but unlike Philadelphia, they don't have to throw only to tight end. They can open it up and go elsewhere. I do think that this offense can support on a weekly basis 2 tight ends. This isn't the week to do that, though. So I'm going to sit Boyle, but watch him and watch the target totals. We could have a situation where, like Goedert last year, kind of starts to ascend later in the season. Maybe Boyle can do that as well. For the Houston Texans, Darren Fells is a sit for me this week, although if you're in a touchdown-only league, he's a good play. Let's see. Kansas City versus the LA Chargers. Travis Kelce, start, projected as the number 4 overall tight end this week in terms of computer projections. Start him. Hunter Henry, the computer projection's bad. Kansas City's defense is really good. I don't have a start grade on him, but I got to think that this offense is going to do something to get him more involved and get some more quick wins, easy plays, get the chains moving. My gut says, my computers don't like it, but my gut says you want to start Hunter Henry this week, at least in daily fantasy. New England versus Seattle. Izzo is the starter there at tight end until proven otherwise. I have goodness gracious, I have a good projection on him. A touchdown and maybe 80 yards. I'm not starting him. Daily fantasy, I'll make some bets, but geez, I'm not starting Izzo. If the projection turns out to be true, great. I don't like it. Now, Seattle, Greg Olsen, I like it. I said this before in the wide receiver segment. I think Gilmore matches up on Metcalf. I think that they double cover Tyler Lockett to make sure they keep him in front of them on deep routes. What that means, and I think they do a really good job stopping the run. What that means is Seattle, to move the chains, they're going to have to throw early and often to tight ends. I like Greg Olson this week off the waiver wire as a start, and I love him in daily fantasy. New Orleans versus Las Vegas. I like Jared Cook regardless of whether or not Michael Thomas plays. If Michael Thomas doesn't play, I like him even more. Start him. Darren Waller. I like him in between the 20s. Is he going to get red zone opportunities this week? I think he will. Start him. So there you go. There's the full boat. I didn't do defense this week. I don't know if I'm ever going to do defense, but there's my first live stream also in the books. If you were commenting and all that stuff, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't looking at a single thing. I was looking at my projections, so I apologize. Maybe I'll get better with this thing and be more interactive. And why don't I do this? Why don't I look at some comments? I got a question if Brandon Ward is still asking, Chark or Scary Terry. I will take Chark this week. I like the chemistry there. Let's see. Not sure. Hey, what's up, Carl, man? I'm not sure who to put as my flex. Carson, Hunter Henry, or Fuller. Based on matchup this week, normally I would say 16 out of 17 weeks, I would say Carson. I don't love Seattle's running offense versus the defensive line of the New England Patriots. So I'll take Fuller. Fuller gives you big play potential. He didn't pull his hamstring last week. He might pull his hamstring in the first 5 minutes of this game. And if he does so, I'm sorry, but I would take them. And yeah, go ahead and start those other ones. You mentioned it as well. Let's see. Looking to move Ingram. What kind of running back can I look to get? Ingram is interesting because I think people are probably sellers. So I would, if you need a running back, I would probably be looking to trade him for a guy, and I'd be aggressive here. I'd try to trade him for a guy like a Malcolm Brown, where somebody probably scooped him off of waivers. They don't have a big investment in him just yet. So what are they going to do? They'll probably trade him for more bankable opportunity. Now, me personally, if I had Malcolm Brown, I honestly wouldn't make that deal. If I was trading Ingram, what I would actually look at tactically is I'd look at trying to get a receiver off of somebody that has a deep receiver team but is really hurting at running back. So they're a little bit more they'll be a little bit more aggressive on their side. It's a little bit more of a win-win situation, so I think you'll have a better ability to do that. But if you need a running back, and for some reason Gaskin was still on my waivers, people I think ignored him. He's going to have season-long value. You can get him. If you're looking for another running back that might be still on waivers, I mentioned before Damian Harris. He's not going to get you any help the next 2 weeks, but I think he could get you help later in the season. He's worth, especially if an IR slot, he should be on everybody's IR right now. Drop somebody, pick up Harris, put him on waivers, pick somebody else up. That's what you should be doing. Let's see here. And I don't think I completed the thought, but I forgot. DJ Chark, I got a question from Bryant. DJ Chark or DJ Moore PPR? I'm going to go with DJ Moore this week. I like Chark. I like Chark every week, but if you have to make that that transition or that trade-off between the two players, if that's your choice, I like Moore. My computer projections don't necessarily agree with that, but I like DJ Moore because, like I said to everybody at the start of the show, I do literally watch every game. By the time Monday morning came around, my eyes were glassy. I had the worst bags in the world under my eyes. I stayed up all night, basically Sunday night, watching football. That sounds like fun, but when you have to do it, it's not as much fun. Then I stayed up Monday night as well and watched all the games. So what I saw on film, look, Chark's going to have season-long viability. I love Gardner Minshew, by the way. I love the offense that he's in. Jay Gruden calls a really good offense. Everybody says it's the top 5 offense in the league. He's a very, very good coordinator. I thought he was an okay coach. I just think that as a personnel person, he's an idiot. But, in terms of play calling, you cannot dispute it. He made Andy Dalton into a top 10 fantasy football quarterback. He made Kirk Cousins into a top 10 fantasy football quarterback. He will make Gardner Minshew into a top 10 fantasy football quarterback. Does that happen this year? I don't know. Next year, bank it, top 10 quarterback. He runs better than you think he does as well. Chemistry with DJ Chark, off the charts. He'll throw it up to them. Like I said, it matters when a quarterback will see his favorite target double covered downfield, and he says, screw it, let me just throw it to him. We saw it for years with Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. They're not quite there yet, but they will be very good. Let's see, Hines or Marvin Jones. This week, I take Hines. Marvin Jones, I think, is actually a little bit better when Golladay comes on the field. I know the target, the share of offense would go down, but it's more refined targets. You see more one-on-one coverage. So if Galladay's out there, you could call it a coin flip. But again, seeing what I saw when I watched that Chargers and what was it? No, not the Chargers. I apologize. That was last year. When I saw the Colts versus the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, Philip Rivers had no problem moving the ball. And Hines out of the backfield. He got that rushing touchdown. I thought that was a little cheap, but I think he also had some opportunities for some receiving touchdowns that didn't pan out. Bottom line, this offense supports 2 running backs. It was a little murky with Marlon Mack in there, who was having a fantastic first quarter. That sucks that he got hurt. But what that means for Jonathan Taylor, all you Jonathan Taylor people that drafted him in the 2nd and 3rd round that were sweating it when Marlon Mack was on the field, and you're thinking, crap, is it going to take me like 6 weeks for Jonathan Taylor to break through? Well, he's broken through. He's going to be very good. Offense supports 2 running backs. John Brown or Marvin Jones this week? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say, Marvin Jones, regardless if Golladay plays. I like John Brown. I'm on record. I think he's a weekly kind of viable starter, bottom line starter for you. But if I had to choose, I'm bullish on Marvin Jones, and I'll tell you why. I'm not sure if you're an almanac reader or not, but when you look at the stats from last season, what this offense did, when Golladay and Jones were playing, I think Jones had more receptions. Or at least if you extrapolate, because I think Jones played 13 games and Golladay played 16. But if you look at it, Jones was on target to get more receptions and I believe more yards, but not as many touchdowns. So he was going to outstat Kenny Golladay in 2 of the 3 major statistical categories if you, again, extrapolate over a 16-game schedule. Marvin Jones contributes in this offense almost as high. I would say he's about 90% of what Kenny Golladay is. And when you consider in the draft that you draft Kenny Golladay, I think his average draft position was like in the mid-20 range by the time the season ended. When you compare that to where you could have gotten Marvin Jones, which average draft position was 101, I told everybody to snap him up, around, pick 75 to 85 just to make sure you don't miss out on the talent, especially given where other players were being taken there. I like him season long. You could start him. So there you go. I think that's all of the questions. Next time I do one of these, I'll do a little bit of a better job trying to answer questions while I'm going through the stats. Maybe I'll take a break between each position or something like that. Thanks for watching. Still getting used to this whole thing. Yeah, and also like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate everybody's support. And on the Get Paid podcast, I appreciate it. And Carl, you have a good one, man. See, I'll come in. I'm looking at the screen this time. Yeah, we'll see. This is a little experiment, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So, again, more interactivity next time. We'll check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Hope you win your games, and maybe I'll be back tomorrow with some picks against the spread if you're into that. Thanks, everyone.